To my left or right?
Right.
Our microphones want to be closer.
They do. They're going to be friends.
Yeah.
Today I have Angie Lawing with me today. She is a video producer, storyteller, and filmmaker, and we'll get into more of what that means, but we're here to talk about customer stories and telling your customer story for marketing and what that takes. So Angie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to talk about this.
Yeah, so this is something that I know for Fun Guy, and we've worked together and collaborated on projects for Fun Guy. You've done a lot of different types of storytelling, but we talk to our clients a lot about. Sorry, I've got my phone's ringing. The phone's off, everybody.
Right on set.
And that was a lesson that I wanted to teach everybody, was to turn your phones off before you start recording. There's a lot of sort of apprehension around even doing it for a number of different reasons. What do you sort of run into when you're trying to tell customer stories, your customer's customer story?
What people care about more is actually kind of the what's in it for me.
Right.
Again, thinking of themselves. If I'm telling you a story and I'm not connecting with you at all, my words could literally be going over your head.
Yeah.
Or around you, or your eyes could glaze over. And that is what happens sometimes when we talk too much about ourselves,
right,
as companies. So I think one of the things that we want to always keep in mind is, if you know who your audience is and you know about the things that they like and you know about the things that are challenging to them, then you can make a bridge to yourself in the context of their life.
right.
And I'd like to talk about this sometimes in the context of features and benefits, because you can make a list of all the things. Our company is great because we do A and B and C, and we do it through X, Y, and Z means. This is how language is used probably for every company that exists.
Yeah.
Those things are important. But when you're talking about telling a good story and using video as a medium, which is uniquely capable of using sight, sound, motion,
Who would have thunk? Yeah.
then you want to create something that is more on the side of, what does it do for me?
Right.
What do I get out of it?
Right.
And we could use an example. Do you want to talk the
Sure.
air conditioning example or something else?
Let's, I'm a fan of air conditioning.
We do
in the
live
summer.
in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
It might not be relevant for our audiences that are not living in hot places.
Yeah, but you're going to have to use your imagination.
That's
if
right.
you don't know what air conditioning is, or if you haven't experienced
don't have
it
it.
is one of the miracle products of this 21st century.
So if we think about the difference of features and benefits
Right.
for companies to tell an engaging story that is relevant and interesting to the people that they want to buy from them, we need to talk less about features and more about benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So air conditioning is a feature,
Okay.
but staying cool all summer long in your car is a benefit.
And it's way better than, and people can relate to
Yeah.
that part of.
And you could
The story.
say things like, a sweaty mess before you even make it to the office. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody's ever done this. This might be a little too much information, but have you ever been at a client meeting and then you start to pit out and you have sweaty pits, but then you go to the bathroom and you get some toilet paper and you put it under there to try to soak it up a little bit? Nobody?
Yeah.
Okay. Phew!
Yeah.
Because I've
Bueller-
done that a lot.
Bueller, yeah.
But I experienced that lack of benefit quite often.
Okay, so the other is actually how we connect. So we do inherently, as humans, want to connect to each other. And one of the ways to do that, video is a very powerful tool. One of the best.
Preaching to the choir.
You can watch have you ever cried ever watching a movie?
No, you have. Not me.
But the point of sharing that was the power of video storytelling.
Sure.
That's why we both do the work that we do. It's a unique medium, and one of the things that you want to do is take advantage of the power of the tools that we have
Sure.
sort of at our fingertips. And how do we do that? Well, we can do that by connecting through whatever it is that they like. about
Right.
what their experience has been. It
Right.
humanizes it. It gives it context. I love a good day in the life of story that shows a product or service in use in the real life of someone
Yeah.
as they walk through their day, as they sort of let us shadow whatever it is that they do, how their life has changed at work as a result,
Right.
the impact it's made on their company. Those kinds of things also make it more relevant to other customers.
In terms of this is kind of fundamental storytelling 101 stuff here.
Right.
But yet, when we kind of get into the more corporate marketing setting, a lot of people struggle to wrap their heads around that and why that's effective. I mean, why do you think that is?
One is I think there is the constant press of how it's been and what's always in front of them. And so there is a job that we have to do as outside professionals to raise our hand and say, hey, you could do this another way. You know this already. I'm just here to be the voice in your head that says, what if we tried this?
Right.
And that is in and of itself sort of an aha moment. I think the other thing is the logistics get in the way of many good ideas. And so somebody's immediate reaction might be, that's too much work. It's too much money. It's too much time. I don't know how to do it. And therefore, I'll do this other thing that I already know how to
Right.
do.
I think that thing you're saying right there is something that I've certainly seen a lot, which is just like, at the end of the day, you do, as a marketer, you're hiring an agency, you're hiring somebody to help you tell a story, you have to do what works. Like, you have to be successful, because at the end of the day, you're doing a job, and your reputation, your job is on the line, and so it really is hard sometimes to reconcile, like, this kind of mushy stuff, this emotional stuff that we know it does work, but I think it's kind of hard to wrap our heads around it sometimes if you haven't produced a piece of emotional content before, or whatever your experience is, and you go to what works, or at least what makes the boss happy, or like we all, at least the internal stakeholders, know the product well enough that they can say, hey, that's true, so let's make it that way. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I see.
The good news is you don't have to abandon all the things that you're doing. This is like an add-on and not a full replacement for all the other things that you're doing. It is one tool in the arsenal of how to communicate with customers and win business.
Right.
So maybe instead of sending out text-only emails with call to actions at the bottom, having a video alongside it or in a link in social posts isn't that much of a stretch from what clients or companies are currently doing.
Sure.
And it's baby steps to try out something they haven't done, or maybe lots of people have been using video for a long time as well, but the ways that they're used might be somewhat limiting their success.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm seeing is there are people who are using video, it's everywhere, but they're still kind of focused on that features thing within the video even, and they're focused on information. And sometimes it makes sense, right? We need to teach somebody how to use our product.
Right.
It has to be information heavy.
Right.
It probably isn't going to be super emotional, right? But when we're telling a story where we're trying to get people to see the value, we have to show the value in a way that shows impact, not in terms of the engineering behind the product. Logistically, this can be a nightmare for some people. Things like getting permissions, things like getting the customer even to get on board with something like this, because it's like, I have to do something for you.
Right.
What are some of the challenges that you've run into around getting the approvals?
There's a moment in the movie Manchester by the Sea. Have you seen that one?
I haven't.
It's very sad. You will cry. I
Okay.
promise.
I got a lot of crying to do.
But there's a moment in it where this young man asks his uncle, do you not want to be my father and take care of me? And he's like, it's not you, it's the logistics.
Oh, really? Dang, that's sad.
And that is, it wasn't meant to be a funny moment, but as a parent, I found it humorous because logistics get in the way of a lot of good intent.
Yeah, for sure.
And overwhelm a lot of people who would abandon an otherwise very successful idea because of the logistics.
Yeah.
So when it comes to creating something successful at scale, a lot of times you have to think about why are we doing this, and what can we get out of it, and what is the impact, and then all the other things we already talked about. Who is this for? Right. Specifically, who is this for? This is for Matt. Mm-hmm. Meet Matt. He's, he is our perfect target.
Perfect.
You're the sweet spot for the ideal target audience for this particular project.
Perfect and sweet.
So we
think
about. So we think about how to create something that's moving, that's good storytelling, and then we get into the logistics of it. So if we can hold in our mind a good purpose that helps us sort of stay engaged, that could carry us through some of the challenges. That's true for any number of projects. It's true for startups making apps. Mm-hmm. It's true for producers making big budget films. Right. There is a purpose that keeps us all waking up in the morning and pushing through the task. And then there's those of us who are dedicated professionals who've done it over and over and over again, that other people can trust in us to get it done. And when it comes to something that is a bigger logistical challenge, I have the pleasure of relying upon many years of having done similar projects to make something work that might be a little bit new, but still familiar.
What do you say to the question that we get a lot often, it would be cool to tell customer stories, but our customers, it's just really hard to get them to say yes. It's just, there's too much red tape to jump through.
I created a whole program actually to combat that. We don't have to keep this in the podcast, but it's a champion program, and it's to create a structured link between sales and marketing, which is inherently one of the big challenges of getting customer stories, is actually having a good database to flag who's happy with you, who's not happy with you, what is their contact information, how long have they had the product, and then sort of creating a log of who might be willing.
So this is like identifying who would be a good target in the first place for a customer to tell a story.
Because that's a huge part of the problem.
Right.
If you ask 10 companies today, I need a testimonial. Can you go out to your customer base, get me a testimonial? How many people do you think by tomorrow, relying upon the sales team, would come back with a testimonial for you? I think maybe one.
Okay.
Because it's not their main priority.
Right.
They're not getting sales is their priority.
They're not getting rewarded for that.
There's no incentive for the customer either. Now, sometimes you can create that incentive and then sales can deploy that. But there's all kinds of challenges in a complex B2B situation. There's a lot of other factors at play that the sales team is aware of, that they don't want to have to take the time to communicate to anybody else, and they don't want anybody getting in the way of a good thing.
Yeah, they don't want to mess up their relationship, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like put more pressure on this relationship by asking them for something.
Yeah.
So, what do you do?
So
where do you start?
Where you start is a short list of viable potential customers to go to, a list of questions to ask them, and a trusted relationship for sales to rely on or believe in you to hand that relationship over for the task that you're doing. So to some extent, it's bringing sales along with in the journey of, hey, here's what we're doing and here's why we're doing it.
So it's communicating the value proposition as to why we're doing this too, so that they can get on board in the first place.
Yes, because otherwise, sometimes if you don't have an ally, you will have A non-ally.
Yeah. What is that? An enemy? Who are our enemies?
Yes.
Reveal yourself.
That's right.
So yeah, you got to get the salesperson on board, but you're also saying that it's not, you can't just rely on the relationships. It's got to be something more than that.
Yeah.
What is the something more than that? Is it you're going to different places to identify these?
Well, some companies have customer success managers
Right.
that are largely in charge of renewals,
Gotcha.
subscription-based products and things like that, or
Yeah.
software sales. But what I think works best is to have a dedicated person who is getting paid solely for this project, because a lot of companies will say, you know what, we're going to take that in-house. And
Like an
we're-
agency? Like getting outside help, consultant to help come in and step in and facilitate this?
Yes, because it demonstrates the gravity, but it is a commitment
The investment?
and a dedicated effort.
Right.
Because an internal resource will always be torn in many directions, unless it is their only job to
That's
go
great.
around and collect customer stories.
One other thing I want to bring up with logistics is, I think that makes a lot of sense with like getting buy-in and demonstrating the value and getting a third party to come in and help sort of be the guide through that process. The real problem is that there's a lot of like, you want to tell a story about like an industrial plant or like a manufacturing plant, for example, and their customer, you're just concerned that they won't let you on site because it's just safety, or
Right.
like you probably could do it, but you'd really have to sell it into the organization.
So I think demonstrating that you've done it before. We've done a bunch of on plant floor manufacturing stuff before for known brand names.
Right.
So it is leveraging a customer to show to a customer that somebody like them.
Yeah.
So we're doing the same things that we want our customers to do. We're proving it out ourselves. But then it's also walking them through the process. I think to some extent people don't like what they don't know. And so if you say, well, what we really need is you're not going to lose any money pausing your plant floor operations that cost you thousands of dollars every 3 minutes. We will come either at break time.
Yeah.
We will be non-interruptive. We can maintain, in the flow of things. If someone is building parts to a car, we're a fly on the wall.
Right.
We can maintain whatever safety requirements are needed in the situation, or if we can't be on the floor, maybe we can be on a lift, maybe we can be on a balcony, maybe we can have a drone.
Yeah.
There's so many
We keep
options.
getting farther away from the building.
Yeah.
We could be in a helicopter. We could be in a spy balloon.
We can be in a mouse hole.
Yeah. But we can actually. We can do those
be there
things.
in so many
Yeah.
ways. Yeah. And a lot of times people don't know. They're not conditioned to troubleshoot
Yeah.
how something can work, and so they inherently say no.
Right. Well, and so it's one is selling it to internally to the people who are going to help you get on site, for example, like the sales team, and the value in the investment is really important. How do you show that this is going to be frictionless or minimal friction
Right.
to the actual customer? And I think that is the biggest thing I think that the sales folks have a hard time with is I don't want to create any friction for my customer. I already am handling my own thing. So really clear, making it super clear how this is going to work around their work, it's not going to get in their way, and then demonstrating that and showing what the process is, educating them on the process.
You
Those
can
are really
never
important things.
over-communicate. Didn't
Right.
mean to step on your toes. So.
Yeah. Step away. Step on these toes. They're big.
Yeah.
They're big toes. Step on them.
Customers like to sometimes be in the spotlight. That's something that I think is underestimated. Sometimes they're very proud of the success that they've created, and there is something in it for them.
Right.
And this goes back to a point that we talked about, like what's in it for me is
Yeah.
one of the benefits. Well, what's in it for a customer is a story that's about them and the success they've created. I've seen individuals at customers' companies get a raise because of the success of something that they did that was elevated based on being promoted.
Yeah, that's a great way to talk about the value of what you're doing is how will this demonstrate the value of the work that your customer is doing. That's great. I didn't even think about that.
It doesn't always work, but it can. And so another consideration.
Yeah, for sure. Like, where do we even start? Sometimes it's like, what is most important or sort of top of mind right now? And sometimes it's like, what has the easiest approval to get through? And I think go back to, if you've told these stories through like a written blog or an article, you've already done some sort of a testimonial. Well, we already have some buy-in. Hey, we want to elevate this story and promote it even more through video. So I think that's one place to get started.
I also think if you're in the business of analyzing and creating content, you can do even a brief sweep analysis of what story are we not telling anywhere.
Yeah.
That is sort of the table stakes of who we are as a company. And there's kind of a glaring omission.
Right.
Like, what? That we didn't talk about our impact, how the ROI of our customer, in a tangible way, like, or we did it, but that's, in a newsletter, in a blog post.
Right.
Those are the things that the customer might care the most about. You could also look at if a company has surveys of its customers, using direct language from the customers and feedback. You could consider the things that are coming up as themes in those surveys and make sure those are getting addressed.
Right.
And that could become a priority.
Yeah.
I do think there's always a priority on the who are we from the perspective of our customers. If you don't have it, you should.
Who are we? That's a question that comes up a lot. Well, I have one more question before we wrap up. This is a little off topic, but what is one word or phrase that you think we should stop using in the workplace?
I detest using the word passion.
Passion? Really?
It is overused.
What's the context?
In the business world,
Okay.
people talk about a passion for their work.
Like, I'm passionate about widgets.
Yes, and it drives me nuts. I worked through mission, vision, values with a company that said, we have a passion to serve, and they're in third-party logistics overnight truck delivery.
Okay.
And I questioned whether or not their hourly paid dock workers really were going to embrace that as a core value, passion to serve. Passion to serve, I would believe, for an ER nurse during the pandemic.
Right.
Or a firefighter, maybe.
Right.
I still don't like the use of the word passion, however. It feels out of place in the business world.
What's a word that we could use instead of passion?
Dedication.
Dedication. Dedicated to serve.
Dedicated, committed to quality. Those things, totally believable.
Yeah. So we're going to stop saying passion. We're going to stop saying passion fruit, and we're going to start saying dedication fruit.
Yes.
Doesn't sound quite as delicious, though. We'll just switch it out on the corporate setting in the business setting.
Exactly.
Okay. Them's the rules. I don't make them up. Okay, Angie does.
Yeah, you could have jackfruit.
Okay. I don't even think I've ever had jackfruit before.
It's delicious. It is a replacement for vegans for barbecue.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah,
well, I love me
delicious.
some barbecue. Are you a vegan?
I'm not, but I.
Okay. But if I know a vegan.
Dipping my toe. Yes.
Okay. Well, I love barbecue. It's my barbecue spare ribs are my favorite thing. So you can keep your jackfruit, and I'm keeping them ribs. Well, Angie, this was awesome. Thank you so much for dropping some knowledge bombs and talking about storytelling with me. It's my favorite subject, and thank you so much for being here today.
Mine too. Enjoyed it very much.
Awesome. Cool.
Hit sweat.
Yay.
All right.
El Fango.